Champions League soccer is back with Matchday 1 taking place on Tuesday and Wednesday this week. The current champions Man City are favored again at odds of 2-1, followed by Bayern Munich at plus 550, Real Madrid at plus 800, Arsenal at plus 1000, and Barcelona at plus 1400 to round out the top 5. Now, the 6 teams that advanced through the playoff this year are Young Boys, Galatasary, Braga, Copenhagen, Antwerp, and PSV. In Matchday 1, I've created 2 3-game parlays, one from Tuesday and one from Wednesday. Now I'll be covering more Champions League action all throughout the tournament, as well as picks from other soccer leagues, so be sure to give this video a like and subscribe to the channel for more picks all year long. Now let's get into the picks on Tuesday, and I'm starting off with Italian side AC Milan and EPL side Newcastle. It's the first time in 20 years that Newcastle has played in the Champions League, and they've been placed in the clear group of death alongside Milan, PSG, and Borussia Dortmund. Meanwhile, AC Milan reached the semifinals last year, losing to their rivals Inter Milan. They did lose to Inter Milan again this weekend, getting thrashed 5-1 on the weekend. Now, they had won their previous 3 games, though, in Serie A, 2-0, 4-1, and 2-1. Newcastle, they had an impressive 5-1 win on opening weekend in the EPL, but they then suffered 3 straight losses before winning 1-0 at home to Brentford this weekend. However, they didn't look that good in that win. That was just their second clean sheet in 16 games going back to last season. In all competitions, they've conceded a goal in 12 straight road games. In all competitions for Milan at the San Siro, they are 9-3-1, and they have scored at home in 11 of those 13 games, if you're not counting the games where they were listed as the away team versus Inter Milan. Home field experience in this tournament, buoyed by the need to rebound from a humiliating loss to their rivals this weekend, should be enough to push AC Milan to the victory, but it certainly should be enough to see them at least score a goal at home against a team that has very little recent Champions League experience. So we'll start this off with AC Milan to score. Next up is the champions Man City hosting Red Star Belgrade. These teams have never met before, but if you look back to some recent matches between Red Star and other top competition in recent years, it's not been great reading for their fans or bettors. They lost 6-0 and 3-0 to Bayern Munich, 4-0 and 5-0 to Tottenham, 4-1 and 6-1 to PSG, 3-1 to Napoli, and 4-0 to Liverpool back in 2018 and 2019. Now you can't leave out, though, that mixed into those results, they did draw with Napoli 0-0 and beat Liverpool 2-0. However, both of those games did come on the road, and that's not where they'll be here. They will be on the road in England. Now, they're on the road here where they are just 1-0-2 in their own domestic Serbian Super League. They recently lost 3-2 to Voždović and 2-1 to Sukariki. Overall, they are 3rd in the league. That doesn't really inspire me much hope that they will be able to keep Man City at bay here. City are 5-0 in the EPL. They've won 3-0, 1-0, 2-1, 5-1, and 3-1. City are riding a 13-match undefeated run in the Champions League where they were 8-5-0 last year, and they outscored their opponents 32-5 on the way to winning their first title. That streak should continue with a win and probably by a few goals. Let's go Man City over 2.5 goals. The final leg here will be Barcelona and Antwerp. Barcelona are 2nd in La Liga at 4-1-0. They've scored 13. They've allowed just 4. They scored multiple goals in each of their past 4 games, including on the weekend where they thrashed Betis 5-0. They'll be at home here to a Belgian side in Antwerp, who are 5th in the Jupiler League at 3-2-1. Antwerp beat Athens 1-0 and 2-1 to qualify through the playoffs, and this is their first time in the Champions League. They'll get an unpleasant welcome, I think, though, in the competition at the Camp Nou with the likes of Lewandowski, João Felix, Ferran Torres, Rafinha, who all scored on the weekend in Barca's win. Barca should be easy winners here in La Liga. They have the most goals, the highest XG, the most shots on target, and the most attacking third touches. Let's go Barcelona to win as big favorites. So it'll be Barca win, Man City over 2.5 goals, and AC Milan to score, coming in at minus 106 odds. Moving along to Wednesday, I'm going to the next parlay, and it starts with Galatasaray and Copenhagen. Now, both of these teams needed the playoffs to get here, and both saw their games feature plenty of goals to do so. Galatasaray scores were a 2-2 draw, and wins of 1-0, 3-0, 1-0, and 3-2, and 2-1 over Molde in the final round. For Copenhagen, they won 2-0 and 6-3. They drew 0-0 and 3-3, and then they won 1-0 and drew 1-1 in the final round versus Rakow Częstochowa. Combined in those 12 games between those teams, the over 1.5 was 8-4, but this extends to league play too when it comes to goals. Copenhagen is 1st in the Danish league right now at 6-1-0. They've scored 18, but they've also allowed 9. Their games are 6-2 to over 2.5 totals, and they're 8-0 to over 1.5 totals. Their games average the 2nd most goals per match right now at 3.4. In all competitions, Copenhagen have just 1 defeat in their past 19 games, and they scored in 18 of those 19. They've also been an exceptional road team at 9-1-0, and they're undefeated in all competitions in those past 10 road games. In the Turkish Super League, Galatasaray are second right now. We're just 4 games in. They are 3-1-0. They've scored 9 and have only allowed 2. They're 2-2 to 2.5 totals, and they're 3-1 to over 1.5 totals. In all competitions, Galatasaray are undefeated in 16 games. They've also scored in 15 of those 16. At home in all competitions, they've lost just once, and that was in the cup. Over their past 26 games. They've also scored in all 26 of those games. I think this game should feature goals. It's probably a good both teams to score bet all by itself, or at least over 1.5, or a Galatasaray goal to be included in a parlay. For me, I'm going over 1.5 in this parlay to start off with. And the next game is one of the biggest in the Champions League this week. It's Bayern Munich hosting Manchester United, and it goes down on Wednesday. These two giants meet in Germany, with Bayern being the hosting team. But only one of these teams is in good form right now, and only one looks like they have a chance to go far in this tournament and win any silverware, whether it be in this tournament or in their domestic league. Man U right now are 13th in the EPL, and they've been outscored 10-6. They have just 2 wins in their 5 games to start the year, and those came at home to Wolves and Nottingham Forest, so neither of those are obviously top teams in the league, both some of the weaker teams in the league. Even Forest, in the loss, they did score twice against Man U. Their past 2 games were a 3-1 road loss to Arsenal and a 3-1 home loss to Brighton this weekend. They also have a 2-0 road loss to Tottenham on their resume in this short EPL season. Man U's XGA actually ranks 16th in the EPL, so only better than 4 teams, and if they give up that many chances to Bayern Munich on the road, they could get blown away on Wednesday. Bayern have won 11 straight Bundesliga titles. They are at the top of the table again this year. They are tied with 10 points through just 4 games. They're tied with Bayer Leverkusen. Those teams just played to a wild 2-2 draw last week. Bayern won 2-1, 3-1, and 4-0 in the games prior. Harry Kane is the big addition for Bayern this year. He has adjusted to life in the Bundesliga quite well. He already has 4 goals and 1 assist. Now Bayern, they got knocked out of the quarterfinals to eventual winners Manchester City last year. But prior to that, they were 8-0, and they had outscored their opponents 21-2 through the group stage and the round of 16. Now, the last meeting between Bayern and Man U was a 1-0 Bayern win, but it was back in 2018, and it was just a friendly. And if we look to the last competitive matches, those are way back in 2014, so not much we can take from that. Here, though, is another incredible stat, though, for you for Bayern. In all competitions, when they're playing at home, Bayern has scored in 80 of their past 81 home games. That one time they did come, though, recently this summer, where they lost 3-0 in the cup competition to Leipzig. But that's still a ridiculous streak of scoring goals at home. Prior to that, they had not failed to score at home since way back in February 9th of 2020, also oddly against Red Bull Leipzig. Now, if you had looked past that time, even earlier than that, they had also scored in 30 of 31 games prior to that time back in 2020. So they were basically a lock to score when playing at home, which gives them a good shot, obviously, to win. And the way Man U are playing right now doesn't give me much confidence that they can go in to Bayern and pull off the win. So we'll go Bayern to win in the second leg of this parlay. And we'll round it out with Braga hosting Napoli. These teams only have 1 previous meeting, and it was a friendly way back in 2012, a 3-1 win for Napoli, so not much we can take from that. The Serie A champions are off to a so-so start in the league. They're just 2-1-1, and they are winless in their past 2 games. Now, Rudy Garcia does have a more counter-attacking approach this year for Napoli than Spalletti's pressing style from last year. But still, in all competitions for Napoli, if you look from this year and last, they've scored in all games this season and in 12 of 13 going back to last season, and they should be able to do so again in Portugal on Wednesday. Braga are only 8th in the league in Portugal at 2-1-2. And while they do have 10 goals in those 5 games, they've also conceded 10 goals in those 5 games. They've conceded in all 5 games, as well as multiple goals to teams such as Famalicão, Chaves, Moreirense, and Farense. It's a step up here for the team that needed a playoff to qualify, going up against Napoli. Napoli should win, but they should surely definitely score a goal. We'll go Napoli to score to round out the parlay, tied in with Bayern to win, and over 1.5 goals in Galatasaray and Copenhagen. That gives us plus money at plus 114. And I'll leave it at that for this first match day. I'll post the picks in the end screen for this round. Drop me your picks for this week's game on the games this week, or any futures you have in the tournaments down in the comments. And good luck, everybody, with all of your Champions League bets this tournament.